I know. I know. I know. A couple years ago, I started this YouTube channel and I lasted a couple months and then I disappeared for about 4 years and now I'm back. So let's say congratulations to 2022. They got me right back onto YouTube. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but when I decided to start a YouTube channel several years ago, it really was to kind of document and share a lot of my wellness journey along with my tiny house journey, where my now husband and I had started to build a tiny house on wheels, and we wanted to kind of document the process and just kind of, join the tiny house community. That didn't quite pan out the way that we had hoped. To give y'all a little bit of a backstory before I go into why I am back, the tiny house community is very aesthetic. It's very, what's the word? It's very enticing, but it is not realistic. And when my husband and I were building our tiny house, we ran into a lot of financial issues and building issues, along with land issues. We couldn't find anywhere to put the house once it was finished, and we certainly couldn't afford a piece of land so that we could actually occupy that land, and it was our land and not somebody else's land that they could kick us out of at any point in time. Truth be told, we were actually living in the parking lot of a warehouse, so it really wasn't an ideal situation. We never actually got to finish the house. We ended up selling it, and we're now living in Los Angeles, California. That brings me to, why am I now back? Well, I learned a lot in those last 4 to 5 years, and for a long time I really thought maybe we just have really bad luck. Maybe it's just something that we're doing. But what I now realize is that there was actually a lot of classism in the tiny house community. There's also a lot of racial exclusions. The more melanated you are, the harder time you're gonna have actually being able to find a piece of land or find people who are willing to rent you out that piece of land. Which leads me to the type of work that I'm doing now, which is very social justice motivated. I am still in the wellness community, but I have taken a little bit of a step back from the daily toxicity of the wellness industry, which, trust me, we're gonna get into later in a different video. And I'm also now a journalist, an independent freelance journalist, and a lot of the stories that I aim to tell and am going to tell are going to be centering the stories of people of color. And so that leads me to introducing to you a little bit of the journalism that I have just started to do in 2021. But now that it's 2022, I want to show you a little bit of a sneak peek of what it is that I'm getting into. This last year, 2021, I ended up signing with Futuro Media's Latino Rebels. Congratulations to me. I did my first journalism piece, which I was really excited about. So I'm going to show you that video now, and we'll talk a little bit about it after it's done. Recently, posts were going viral on social media calling for the removal of Taino artifacts from Christie's auction house in Paris. The buying and selling of indigenous artifacts isn't new. In fact, it has been widely accepted and seen as normal for hundreds of years, for museums and private collectors alike. But what do the people whose heritage these artifacts belong to feel about such sales? I went on a deep dive to see how activists and Tainos are attempting to change this practice and if it's even ethical.
These items that you're seeing being sold at Christie's or maybe in museums, displayed in museums, are World Heritage items. They do belong to our people.
Museums and auction houses across the world have been outed in recent years for exhibiting looted and stolen items, all in the name of historical and cultural education. But this education has always been tainted by racism. The shrunken heads from Ecuador and Peru on display at the Pitt Rivers Museum in England, for example, were used as proof of the racial superiority of white people. Even as recently as 1897, indigenous artifacts were stolen from Benin in Africa and spread throughout European museums as primitive artifacts. Christie's, a British auction house founded in 1766, is most known for selling art pieces by Monet, Picasso, and Da Vinci. In 2017, the Salvator Mundi was sold for $400 million at Christie's in New York, which at the time was the highest price ever paid for a single painting at an auction. Christie's allegedly charges its clients an estimated 25% for the first $75,000, 20% on the next $75,000 to $1.5 million, and 12% on the rest. Its sales in 2015 totaled $7.4 billion. Indigenous artifacts are a big ticket item for the auction house. But unlike paintings by Leonardo da Vinci, the acquisition of indigenous artifacts is much more sinister. In 2020, Christie's was forced to withdraw 4 Greek Roman artifacts from sale after it was discovered that they came from sites linked to convicted antiquities traffickers. That same year, they were criticized for putting up a Benin plaque and 2 Igbo Alusi figures for auction. The plaque was tied to similar plaques taken from Nigeria during the violent Benin expedition of 1897. Many indigenous nations worldwide have been demanding the return of their artifacts for years, and Tainos are no different. The Tainos, an indigenous people native to the Caribbean, have a rich and complex history. Tainos have long experienced erasure and violent colonization. They were the first contact people with the Spaniards, and today are still experiencing colonial and imperial challenges. Tainos, however, are not federally recognized as a tribal nation, like many Native Americans are, partly due to the Commonwealth status of Puerto Rico, where some Tainos still live today, which makes claiming indigeneity a little tricky for Taino descendants. Even for someone like me, a Boricua with proof of their Taino ancestry, I still have a hard time claiming to be indigenous, and that's apparently by design. When the Spaniards colonized the Caribbean, they forced indigenous women to marry conquistadores and Spanish settlers in order to eradicate Indios. And for centuries, the narrative that Tainos no longer exist became widely accepted as truth. In a since-deleted promotional video for the Christie's auction of the artifacts, they used the same extinction narrative. I'm really proud of that piece. I was the sole producer and editor, video editor specifically, but it took me a really long time to put together. So this year I'm really hoping to get a little bit of help with the editing department. Those are the types of stories that I want to be able to tell moving forward. So you can expect that in this channel, but also on my channel you're going to see a lot of different opinion pieces, different reviews. A lot of the work that I do now has to do with social justice, and it has to do with opinion pieces and politics and the many different things that oppressed and colonized people have to deal with. I want to be able to bring all of myself to this new channel, and I'm really excited to be back. I will be posting once a week for now until we kind of see where this relationship goes. So I would love for you to subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. If you're already subscribed, shout out to y'all who were like really waiting on me to come out with another video all of these years, and now boom, here we are. So I would love to hear from you in the comments below. What would you like to see from me in the future? Are you excited that I'm back? Are you like, girl, I have been waiting a really long time and this is not it for me? And if you would like for me to give an update on my experience with tiny houses or my experience in the wellness industry in general, please let me know in the comments below, and I will be sure to make that video or types of videos moving forward in the future. If you want to know how you can support me moving forward, I have a Patreon community which has been going strong for the last 2 years, and I would love to have you there. I also started a brand new app called the Anti-Oppression Social Club, which I'm so proud of that community and how it is also growing. We are almost to 1,000 members, which is really exciting. Another way to stay in touch with me is obviously through my Instagram, which will be linked below, along with signing up for my email newsletter, which goes out just about once a week or so. The cool thing about the newsletter is that once you subscribe, you are also going to get some free wallpapers for your phone, designed by myself. And I don't want to sabotage myself, but I do think that the types of videos that I'm going to be putting out here are more than likely to get demonetized. So if you want to sponsor an episode, which I would be so grateful to you, please send me an email, which is going to be in the description below, and we'll chat. Yeah. I'm really excited for 2022. Thank you for joining me on this brand new, or I guess updated journey, and I will see you very soon.